Hi, friend. Welcome to the very first episode of In the Unfolding of Becoming. I am so happy you're here. And I'm going to make a disclaimer. If you hear some background noise, that is my dog Viola snoring away. So if you hear a couple of Z's here and there, you know who the culprit is. And I just realized that, like a true dog lover, I just introduced my dog before I introduced myself. So let me introduce myself. My name is Erica, and my intention with this first episode is to talk through why I decided to create a podcast, my intention with this podcast, what you can expect. And so let's just dive right in. I created In the Unfolding of Becoming because I wanted to provide something of value to the community. Life right now be lifing. It is tough out there and it is tough in here. And by in here, I mean internally. We are constantly navigating so much. I get a lot of value feeling connected to community, feeling connected to people, being of service to people. And this is one other medium where I can do that. A lot of times we find ourselves in what I call the unfolding, and we may need tools and perspectives, or even just a reminder that someone else has experienced or is experiencing a similar unfolding. So, what is this concept of the unfolding? Can we define it a little bit, Erica? Because it's seeming a little abstract. Why, I'm glad you asked, listener, friend. What I define as the unfolding is the space between where we were and where we're going. That part of life that isn't the beginning and yet isn't quite the arrival. It's the middle. And let's face it, sometimes the middle, aka the unfolding, can feel relentless. I created this podcast to provide tools and story sharing that will hopefully find you, the listener, in the middle of your unfolding and provide you with comfort and tangible tools. If I'm being honest, I also created this podcast to heal parts of myself through my own sharing and through being a container and a listener to those who will join me in this space on the podcast to share their own stories around their unfolding. But before we go further, I want to address about what I mean when I say the unfolding can feel relentless. What I mean by that is that sometimes we don't know what the state we're in actually is. Is it a lull? Is it a pause? Is it uncertainty? When is it going to end? We don't know when we'll transition out of it. And that not knowing can create impatience. Can anybody relate? Is there any chapter in your life that you just wanted to hit that fast forward button? We don't know when we'll transition out of it, and that not knowing can create impatience. A desire to move forward into the next chapter just to feel some relief. And when this desire builds, we can often start confusing urgency with alignment. But is it really alignment? That's when the unfolding starts to feel heavy. It's usually the moment when we're tempted to rush it. To sprinkle a little bit of what I've learned here, I want to take some time to share what's helped me stay with the unfolding instead of rushing it when, let me tell you, there have been times where I have just wanted to run, speed forward into the next chapter simply because I want to avoid just being still. It's too uncomfortable. What has helped me primarily to stay with the unfolding instead of running from it is daily practice and awareness. I'll be honest, I still notice moments even today where I want to speed something up. I feel like something is not moving as quickly as it should, and by that I mean as quickly as I want to control it to be moving. And in those times, I want to truncate something before it has time to unfold. I'll start entertaining the thought that something must be wrong because things aren't moving quickly enough. But I've learned that urgency doesn't create better outcomes for me. It actually just creates noise. Instead of suppressing those impulses, now what I do is I meet them. I meet them simply by noticing them. I give them a little wave, and that awareness in itself brings me back to the present moment. It reminds me that I don't need to abandon myself in panic in order to move forward. I can still take action. I can still send that email. I can still apply for that job, fill in whatever action item here relates to your circumstance and to your unfolding. But what I don't need to do is I don't need to grip my worth while I do it. And this is where the distinction has become really important. Let's talk about forcing growth versus allowing becoming. Forcing growth feels in my body like a tightness in the chest. It can feel like tension in the shoulders, spiraling thoughts, or a rapid heartbeat. It is definitely true in my experience that our body often feels and knows first when something is misaligned, aka when we're trying to rush through an unfolding that is really asking us to take time and to meet life where life is meeting us. The body doesn't feel relaxed when we're forcing something to move faster than it's ready to. Now, on the other hand, allowing becoming feels very different. My body feels lighter, feels relief, feels like openness, like a softness. Honestly, you know what it feels like? It feels like unclenching my fist. And that doesn't mean doing nothing. It means refusing to act from fear. Because I've learned that the quality of who I am internally shapes how I participate in my life externally. When I'm not operating from panic, I decide differently. I see things differently. I respond versus react. And that changes what becomes possible for me in the unfolding. That's the true power of being. And that's really what this space is about. When I imagine someone, you, the listener, tuning into this podcast, whether in your car, on your sofa, out on a walk, running errands, I really hope that this space gives you comfort. I hope it reminds you that you're not alone in the middle. There are so many incredible podcasts that will inspire you to take action, that will guide you in ways to optimize your life, to build, to move. This podcast is about something slightly different. It's about who you are being in the unfolding. It's about learning how to slow down enough to notice whether your actions are coming from fear or from steadiness. Now, I don't want to be misunderstood. Being doesn't mean passivity. It means presence. It means your worth is not contingent on motion. And when you stop equating anxiety with productivity, something naturally shifts. What can you expect? What is coming your way? Well, what is coming your way is a rainbow of diverse conversations. We're going to have folks come on to talk about emotional regulation, meditation, and also about how they navigated through their unfolding by sharing their stories around body transformation, their stories around letting go of relationships in the broad sense of the word that no longer were aligned with who they were, and also some conversations on understanding ourselves, why we think the way we do, why we choose to show up or not show up in very specific ways in different circumstances. And we'll also talk about practical things because let's face it, being isn't abstract. It shows up in everything that we do, in everything that life is. This space is about understanding ourselves without judgment and moving through life without self-abandonment. If you were to ask me, okay, Erica, what feels different to you about this podcast? I would automatically say that what feels different to me about this podcast is that we are showing up exactly where we are. We're not performing, we're not chasing trends. The very whole point of this podcast is being and recognizing that being is enough in the unfolding. And that can be a hard pill to swallow because a lot of us, if not every one of us, has been socialized to believe that how we perform, the way we do, the way we act directly equates our value and our worthiness of deserving things. It is a more difficult concept to embrace that being you is enough and of value to be worthy of receiving. Listen, life is already complex enough. This space is meant to feel unarmed, to feel safe, to feel grounded. It's a place where you don't have to impress anyone and where no one on here is here to impress you. No offense. The unfolding is not something you have to conquer. It's something you move through. And through this podcast, we're gonna lock arms and learn how we move through the unfolding, as uncomfortable as it can get. Because when you stop gripping the unfolding, you may actually be surprised by how differently it meets you. Oftentimes, I have found that unexpected magic arises. I am ready for this ride. I hope you're ready. I want to thank you for being here. I'm so grateful for you. And I look forward to continuing to meet you in your unfolding. Until the next one, take care.